So one of the developers behind the upcoming title Crackdown 3 has been recently acquired by Epic Games. And of course, I had to ask, how is this going to affect Crackdown 3 going forward since the game is still being worked on? So let's talk about that right now, shall we? What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. If you missed it a little bit earlier, I posted a video about the Do Not Disturb functionality recently added to Xbox, as well as the mini Game Hub stuff. So check that video out when you got the time. But I know you want to hear more about Crackdown 3, a game that has kind of seen a tumultuous up and down period ever since it debuted in 2014. It was kind of re-debuted last year during E3 to kind of a mixed reaction. People loved Terry Crews in the game, but they weren't really feeling what they were showing off. So much so that, they delayed the game last year and it was supposed to be coming out sometime this year. Well, one of the developers behind the game, Cloudgine, was recently purchased by Epic Games a few days ago, actually. On January 19th, they made the announcement. Now, when looking into who's making Crackdown 3, it's actually a lot of developers. There are four core developers working on Crackdown 3. So Cloudgine were the ones behind the core engine and like the cloud physics and all that stuff, while Sumo Digital were the ones behind creating the single-player stuff, and Reagent Games and Ruffian Games were, from what I can tell, building the multiplayer component. So the thing everybody is kind of hyped up about Crackdown is that multiplayer destruction, and Cloudgine was the developer behind that stuff. So if you go to their website, you can see it right here. It says supercharge your development, unlock experiences never before possible. But if you just scroll down, January 19th, Cloudgine joins Epic Games. Cloudgine to bring cloud computing expertise to Epic's Unreal Engine tech and games. Cloudgine Limited is pleased to announce that we've joined Epic Games as a wholly owned subsidiary. So I figured, okay, let's see where this goes. So I clicked on it, and they have a little thing here, and then they go on to say, since its inception, Cloudgine's research and development has been based on Epic's Unreal Engine 4. Cloudgine's cloud computing and online technologies will enhance Unreal Engine 4's feature set to help developers push the creative and technical limits of game, film, animation, and visual through advances in physics, simulation, and networking. So my first thought is like, okay, so they're very focused on Unreal Engine 4, which is what Epic obviously makes. I'm like, what would make Epic Games want to purchase Cloudgine, right? Like, we haven't seen Crackdown 3. Nobody's played it yet. So I was thinking, have they done anything else that would warrant a big studio like Epic, who runs a big-time engine like Unreal 4, to want to pick them up? So when you go to the projects and you look at it, they've only made two games. They've made a Toy Box game, which is a physics-based VR experience on Oculus Touch, and they've also are working on Crackdown 3, and that's it. So I know a lot of people are probably wondering, well, man, this has got to be bad news for Microsoft. Here's a developer that is making the core engine for the game, the cloud physics destruction that they've talked about since 2014, and before the game even comes out, Epic decides to pick them up. That this can't be good news for Microsoft, but I'm kind of on the other side of this. Of course, you can look at this positive, negative, whatever way you want. But I think it's more of a positive kind of thing, because if you're Epic and you're looking to buy this company and you buy them, then you have a good feeling that the tech that they're working on, the cloud technology stuff to use to supercharge physics and destruction for your engine, actually works. And maybe they've had behind closed doors demos of Crackdown 3 since it runs on Unreal Engine 4, and maybe they feel good with what Cloudgine has done so much that they decided to pick that up. Because it says here, when you go to Crackdown, it says, Crackdown franchise, enter the sandbox of mayhem and destruction, become a superpowered agent, blah, 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 blah. Crackdown 3 will deliver an all-new multiplayer mode where your destruction is your ultimate weapon against friends and rivals. Crackdown uses Cloudgine's cloud tech to supercharge physics and destruction to a level never seen before. Through Cloudgine, the developers of Crackdown are able to harness the immense computational power available within data centers to achieve all new experiences, just not possible on local hardware. So it got me thinking, Epic must be happy with the tech, right? And they probably want to utilize it for other games. You know, since Cloudgine was the one who made it, and it works on Unreal Engine 4 stuff, can you imagine if they actually used this sort of cloud power technology and put it inside Fortnite or some of the other Unreal Engine 4 games out there? Maybe that's what they want to do. Now, of course, from Microsoft's angle, I've seen people already tweet out that, oh, this means bad stuff, even though I think it means that the tech itself is good and works. Otherwise, Epic wouldn't bother buying them. So my buddy Jez Corden, because we were actually talking about all this stuff before he posted his article on Windows Central, he actually got a direct statement from Microsoft. So, of course, his article reads, Cloudgine is joining Epic Games, but where does that leave Crackdown 3? Because that's what we are concerned about. I want to know about Crackdown 3. You want to know about Crackdown 3. I think it means that the dev is going pretty well, that the stuff actually works, because Epic wouldn't buy a company if it didn't. So Epic must be happy with what they were showing off. And, of course, Jez got Xbox PR to respond, and this is what Microsoft had to say. We are excited to see gaming experiences get better with cloud computing becoming part of Unreal Engine 4. Also, a sincere thanks for both studios' work done in partnership with Microsoft Studios to build the cloud-powered technology in Crackdown 3 from scratch. Work continues on Crackdown 3 and is not impacted by this news. We look forward to sharing more on Crackdown 3 and having fans get their hands on the game when it launches later this year. So it sounds like good news that their work isn't impacted whatsoever and Crackdown continues to go on. Who knows? Maybe Cloudgine was just finished doing what they had to do with Crackdown. It was time for a next project. I mean, like I said before, there are 4 studios, or were 4 studios working on Crackdown. I mean, you had Sumo, Cloud Digital, or Cloudgine, you had Ruffian and Reagent. I mean, who knows if all 4 studios are even still working on the game. They might have finished up what they were supposed to do and moving on to the next project. But of course, I know there's people out there that want to probably paint this in a bad way. This is just, oh, more bad news for Microsoft, more bad news for Crackdown. This means that it's going to get canceled. But I don't think so. I think this actually kind of is a little bit of good news. And for all the reasons I mentioned before, Epic must be happy with what they've seen. But it is kind of weird. I'm not sure I've seen something like this ever happen, where a game that's not even out yet, developer of the game gets bought out. Maybe it's happened a couple times and I just can't think of it off the top of my head. But I figured this was going to be an interesting video to talk about because there are a lot of moving factors in this. 4 studios working on a single game, a game that has seen its ups and downs, a game that was delayed because people didn't like what was shown off. Microsoft constantly talking about the multiplayer and how we're going to see all this destruction, and yet we have yet to see that in the 4 years since the game's shown off. And then you have the company behind that destruction that they were so proud of and that they were boastful about gets bought out by a different company before the game ever gets released or shown off to the public, because there have been instances of the multiplayer destruction being shown off behind closed doors. But the public, people like me, people like you guys who watch these videos, we've never seen it. We've never seen the destruction on stage at E3 or at a gaming convention. It's always behind closed doors. So it's just a little weird. And it's just, I guess, another thing you can just tack on to the development of Crackdown 3, a game that's probably gone through a whole bunch of developmental issues this whole time. I mean, 4 developers, one of them gets bought out. It's a weird story for sure, but Jez has it from Microsoft that development isn't affected whatsoever, that Crackdown will just keep on going, and it's going to come out later this year. Now, they didn't give a time frame. I know they originally said early this year, but we already know that Sea of Thieves comes out in March, so it's not going to come out before then. I've had my doubts about whether Crackdown 3 would come out before like September. I think it's a game that comes out later in the year. I mean, I could be wrong, but I know a lot of people will look at this, news and be like, well, that's it for Crackdown. And that's why I wanted to make the video, because I think because it actually means that the multiplayer destruction probably works, because why else would Epic buy them? Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you hit that like button if you did, and if you want to support the channel, consider subscribing to the channel as well if you're new or haven't already. Make sure you hit that notification so you're always notified when I do drop new videos. Make sure you share this out on Twitter and all the different social media so more people can come check it out, and I'd appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.